to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. And today we're going to be talking about 1979's Over the Edge, which is directed by Jonathan Kaplan. Uh, I had never heard of this movie, honestly, at one point. I
Mhm.
forget why I heard of it. I think I was looking at top 70s movies on Letterboxd because I just
Mhm.
wanted to watch something from there. And this was one of the highest movies I hadn't watched. So I was like, oh, well, let's check it out. And watching this movie, I didn't realize of how heavily uh, that Richard Linklater like took from this movie in particular.
Yeah.
There are so many scenes from this movie. I'm just like, this is just Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, it's just Dazed and Confused. I was like, so I kind of knew that going in. I've wanted to watch this movie for a long time because I've heard Richard Linklater. I mean, like most film fans, I really love his stuff, and I knew I always wanted to watch this one. But God, this is just like one of his movies for half of it. Like it's just like, oh, this is just a hangout movie that actually was filmed in the 70s rather than taking place in the 70s. But I will say I expected something different from this movie because the poster for this movie is so ominous. It looks like a horror movie because the main kid has like red eyes and it says over the edge and edge is on fire. I thought it was a horror movie for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know what they were going with that poster because it
Yeah.
looks like a straight up like horror movie, like they're like possessed children or
Yeah,
something.
and the poster says "Watch out for children," which makes sense when you watch the movie, but but it still makes it look like a horror movie.
Yeah. Oh, and going back to the Richard Linklater thing, there's one scene in particular where it's like the one character is chilling on his bed and put on the headphones, which that's how Dazed and Confused
Mhm.
ends, which I was just like, it's just like that is such a thing.
Yeah.
But no, this movie is far from a horror movie. It's nothing like that at all. How this movie is it has a bunch of teens that kind of hang out at this rec center, and you could kind of say that they're delinquents. I don't know, but they haven't really gone off to the rails of like being full on juvenile delinquents. They're kind of just troublemakers, I would say, at first.
Yeah, they just kind of hang out and like I guess it's a little shocking at first because they're talking about like adult things, they're talking about having sex and they're talking about smoking
Drugs.
weed and stuff like that. But they're not really doing anything bad. They're just kind of just kids hanging out, just talking things up. But you can kind of tell like there's definitely like too many kids in this town as New Granada is the town. And like the beginning is kind of like, oh, this is a civil project that didn't account that 50% of the population was going to be just kids.
Yeah, so there is a very large number of kids, and they like to hang out at this rec center that's
Mhm.
there, and that's kind of like their hub of where it is. And they kind of on Letterbox, they kind of I guess I was kind of thinking it was going to be one of those like, oh, we gotta have to make it seem like this is one of those like Save the Rec Center type of movies or
Yeah.
whatever. Like they're gonna tear it down, but this movie really doesn't have much of a plot, I would say, until like the second half of the movie.
Yeah. There's like a little bit of a follow through there. Like it's like a kind of about our main kid,
Carl.
Carl, and kind of his struggles with hanging out with delinquents and like just being tired of school and stuff. But I wouldn't say that's like a full plot. Like you said, the real plot doesn't kick in until about halfway through the movie. It's more of just like settle in and you learn these characters at first.
Yeah, I mean, there are some kids that are causing some trouble. There's two in particular that take a BB gun and actually point it at a moving police car
Oh, yeah,
and
that's pretty bad.
shoot it into his windshield and almost kills him basically.
Hmm.
And they go on the run, and like the cops kind of corner Carl and his friend. I think his name it was. Richie,
Richie, yeah.
who is played by a very young Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon in his first film role, his feature film debut.
Yeah, I mean he's like at 14 or 15, like during the making of this. He's
Yeah.
very fresh face, like young actor in here. And like the police kind of like question them, like what are you doing, that type of thing. And obviously Carl, I think, recognizes the two kids from school that had the BB gun, but he doesn't say anything. They just like, I don't know, it was some
Mhm.
kid and did the thing. And they end up finding a switchblade on Richie, and he ends up getting in trouble. They take him to the police station and they question them, call their parents, and Carl's parents are not a fan of Matt Dillon's character Richie. They're basically just like, we think you're on a really bad path, and we think you're going to be ending up in um, juvie because of it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
and I mean that's and then the police are on him, and that's kind of Carl's dilemma, right? Is that Carl has potential, but Richie, his friend, they definitely don't put the potential onto him. It's he's the lost cause, right? Like that he's like the one like you're going to be in trouble. But I did find it interesting how they handled his parents because his mom picks him up and his mom is like, "You didn't do anything, did you?" She's super chill about it, just kind of like isn't very on to him about any of it.
oh yeah, I mean, even Richie's mom, she's just kind of like, yeah, whatever type of thing. Like, they found a switchblade on you, but
Hmm.
her Carl's dad is the one that's very straight laced and is
Yes.
uh very much a disciplinarian, because when he's at work and they have to call him and basically, oh, your son got picked up by the cops, and he has to run over there. And they had like this big deal going on because this movie's set in Colorado,
Hmm.
and they're like, oh, like these Texas engineers are in town and this could mean big business for our town type of
Hmm.
thing. And they they're really trying to set a really good impression for these people. But yeah, they lay that speech on to Carl's character, and he basically just ignores it and just continues hanging out with them and the other kids. And they like I said, they pretty much just kind of hang out for a while. Like they go and they're out walking, like you said, they're talking about like, scoring drugs and doing that
Hmm.
type of thing. Um, one of the more uh scenes out there is when they go to this party,
Hmm.
and Carl ends up meeting this girl, uh, and her name is Corey, played by Pamela Ludwig.
Hmm.
And he kind of develops like a little crush on her, and they end up sort of hanging out. But the two boys that he met like at the party were also the two boys with the BB gun, and
Yeah.
he's like, did you say anything to the cops? And he's like, no. And they still beat him up anyway, basically just like, don't you say a word or we're gonna kill you,
Yeah.
basically.
And tell me how you feel about this because I thought Carl, the actor that played him, Michael Kramer, um, I thought he did a really good job for a kid actor. I really felt his pain. Like he got beat up, and you could tell like he really believes in like the code between kids of like not giving anything up. But you can tell like he's depressed. The Carl character is such a depressed character, and the way the kid pulls it off, I thought he did a really great job in this movie.
I totally agree. His character is, because he goes and he gets lectured a lot from his parents about
Hmm.
some of the actions that he does, and he doesn't see it that way.
Hmm.
He's like, I was like, weird. He's in his mind is like, we haven't done anything wrong, and they really haven't. They've done some like mischievous things, but
Hmm.
in terms of like, actual crimes, they really haven't done anything that's that bad. So he doesn't really see any issue with like his friend hanging out with his friends, but his parents just want him to do right, and they kind of change their opinion later in the movie. But I want to go ahead and get it right into it. I
Yeah.
really did like this movie a lot. And mostly because I want to just touch on what you said, just the authenticity of a lot of the actors in this movie. Because
Hmm.
in a lot of these other movies, it kind of feels like they would probably get like some older kids or like, some people like in their late teens or somebody that's uh just like a real like a performer, like a real type of showy type of actor or a kid actor. And this one, it actually did feel like they got real kids like in this movie to play these types of roles. And one thing I read about like during the making of this movie is that they would go to like these local schools and they'd say, "Hey, we're looking for kids to be in this movie." And the school was like, here's our drama department, like, and go see
Hmm.
like them doing that. And they weren't really interested in that because they didn't think they were really authentic.
Hmm.
And they would actually go to like kids that were in detention or like kids that would hang out like under the bleachers or something like that. Just kids that they were not kind of expecting. And even Matt Dillon, who was not really an actor type, they said he said that he basically auditioned. He didn't want to get the role. He's just like, oh, this is a way where I don't have to go to school that day. Like, sign me up. And he did get the part. So um, it just really did feel like these were like actual kids, kind of just hanging out. I mean, I don't know if like kids were really doing all that type of crazy stuff. At least I wasn't doing that type of crazy stuff like that in high school at that age. But
Yeah.
um, and I still really appreciated just the authenticity of like a lot of these people.
Yeah, I don't think like kids were doing a lot of those things, but I do think kids were talking about those things, and sometimes
Sure.
kids would lie about stuff like that, and kids are interested in it. So I think like there's some authenticity there. I mean, I just have to like mirror what you said. The authenticity is really what helps make this movie great. There's something about seeing all these child roles, not with actors that are on like over 18 or anything. Like you see these kids and you know that they're kids, and I won't say every performance is like some revelation or anything, but they're
Uh,
all very interesting. I really love some of the smaller characters. Like I forget his name, but there's a kid who always wears glasses and is kind of quiet, and then it's like friends with everybody. There's a kid who's like the strung out, like high all the time kid who's just like watching flashing images on the TV and stuff like that. It's a really like lovable cast of characters, and that's where you can see the Dazed and Confused like, oh, we got a big cast full of different characters to follow kind of deal.
yeah, and I really do like to uh, they don't really try to like glam up any of these kid
No.
actors either. Like they don't like make them like especially if they're female characters, they don't do any type of thing to like, make them like attractive or
No.
whatever. It's just like they're like their actual self. They're like because they're kids.
Yeah, they aren't like layering makeup on anybody really. And I think that's what kind of gives it this interesting feel because like I think I read a little bit about this movie where the director wanted it to be almost documentary like, and you really can feel that, and especially when it's just the kids. I think when you get the adult actors, it actually starts to leak into the movie a bit more of an actor feeling. Oh, this is like a movie. Not saying they're bad. I actually think the performance from the dad is really good. But, like the cop
Yeah.
and stuff, I feel like you start to get this feeling of like, okay, this is like an acting
Doberman.
movie. Doberman, but like that, but the kids, it really does have this realistic feel to it that I can appreciate. And that's why,
Oh,
and I mean, we both have talked about this before. I think we both like chill hangout movies. So I think that just kind of speaks to us already. Kind of like Cooley High, that had a similar vibe for most of the movie where it was just like a bunch of kids doing stuff that they shouldn't be and they're really young. And it was interesting.
oh yeah. I mean, I don't really need a strong plot or anything like that with the
Mhm.
movie. I mean, there's a lot of movies. I'll name another Richard Linklater movie that I enjoyed a lot called Everybody Wants Some, where
I've never seen that one.
it's just this college baseball team that kind of just hangs out like over the weekend
Hmm.
type of thing. It's not anything too revolutionary, but it's just I just had a good time, because you kind of just you feel like you're part of that group in there.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's what's so cool about him is he can really capture. He doesn't. I mean, he always makes different movies, but he really captures that. But it's interesting to go back to the '70s and see where that's coming from. And it's crazy to me. I know this movie was a cult hit, but it almost feels like it deserved to be maybe a bigger hit, and maybe just didn't come out at the right time. And maybe there's because I want to say like the Wanderers and the Warriors came out in 1979 as well. So like I guess rebellious teens was kind of just a big topic at the time too.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the theme I was reading about is just this movie, I think in like England, I think, or Europe, uh it wasn't shown until like the 80s
Wow.
because of the rebelliousness nature of everything. And like you said, this movie came out the exact same year as The Wanderers and The Warriors. So it's just
Hmm.
like I was like, which I made me like look up like 1979 movies. I was just like, man, that was just like they just had like some real hidden
Yeah.
gems in there that like I don't see anyone talk because we love The Wanderers, I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah,
And
The Wanderers is so good, and we both love the Warriors. It made me go like, damn, that was a good movie here.
yeah, exactly. So I really did appreciate that. The other thing too, the soundtrack to this movie,
Oh,
that it's
fantastic.
so many Cheap Trick songs are in this
Yeah.
movie that just before they became like huge, like classic rock hits are in
Yeah.
this movie.
Isn't that what's like crazy about this movie? It's a lot of classic rock of the time, stuff that we considered like standards today. It took me a little bit to realize like back then they were just like kind of fresh and new. Like those weren't like the legendary songs that they are now. And I feel like that makes it it has like this connection to the youth just in that, and I find that really interesting.
Yeah. Uh, I do want to say there are two things about this movie that I didn't love.
Hmm.
Um, one of them is like I did like the soundtrack, but there was some moments in the score I thought was like a little kind of all over the place. That
Hmm.
was just
Like
that
the
just did.
synthy score, right? Like it had like a
Yeah,
weird synthy vibe to it.
that and I thought there were some songs that just weren't really appropriate for the scenes that they were doing, and I was because there was some where it made it sound like it was like a horror movie almost, and
Like the damn poster.
oh yeah, so I'm like, ugh, like I there were some parts I thought it could have been better there. And then the other part would be kind of towards more of the end of this movie, so which I'll get into. Um, so like I said, it's been kind of building up to this moment, but the kids eventually find this gun, and
Mhm.
it's kind of starts out harmless. They kind of use it for target practice. But Nathan, I was so on edge some of those scenes because these kids do not practice gun safety in the slightest.
No, no,
They're
and oh god, there was what was it? Corey like takes the gun and like looks in the chamber really quickly, points it at her head to look at the chamber.
they,
It's like,
they all
holy
look down the
crap.
barrel of the gun, like they point
Yes.
it like right at their face, or like somebody will be running to like the fence to put like a new can up there, and they'll have
Hmm.
like the gun pointed right at them as they're running out there.
Yeah.
Corey almost murders Carl because like she
Hmm.
shoots the gun and he misses him by that
Yes.
much and like almost murders him. And uh but yeah, they're kind of out there just doing target practice, and eventually they run out of bullets because then they're just like, oh well, we'll just go out there and just like we'll just keep this gun with us. And eventually they end up skipping school because
Mhm.
they're kind of in trouble with like the cops out there, and Carl and Richie decide to kind of run away, but the cops end up chasing them down, and they kind of go on a foot chase. And at this one scene, so Richie pulls out the gun, the empty unloaded gun, and points it
Mhm.
right at Doberman, and Doberman just straight up shoots Richie dead.
Mhm.
And there's a scene, so like later in the movie, uh, they're having like this big town hall meeting about the kids,
Mhm.
and the people of this town are kind of at a moment now where they're kind of having like a change of thought of all the kids because they were kind of seeing them as a nuisance before, but now they're kind of like the parents of these kids are kind of like, well, wait a minute, like these kids aren't that bad. Like I think we're kind of like over, like we're kind of just making it seem like a big deal. Like these kids are not troublemakers. And when they're talking about when Richie got shot, one of the parents gets up, it's like, did you know that the gun Richie was unloaded when you shot him? And I'm just thinking, like, I was like, all right, what was this cop supposed to do, like in this
Yeah.
situation? Like,
Yeah,
was he just supposed to let Richie just like shoot him with this empty gun and just like, oh, it's unloaded. I'm not gonna shoot him now. Like, no, he
yeah.
got like a split second to make this decision.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was stupid, especially a kid that he knows is violent or like violent quotations is kind of rebellious, has a gun, points it at him. You can't tell if a gun is loaded or not just by a glance. You just have to you just have to shoot. Of course, it's sad that a kid had to die, but I totally agree.
Absolutely.
I totally agree that that maybe was a little unwarranted. It should be like, why is Richie out here alone holding a gun and like smoking a joint and in a chase with the
Yeah.
cops?
But yeah, I mean, it's reality of the situation is like Richie was being stupid, and this was a
Mhm.
situation that could have been avoided from everybody. But
Hmm.
I digress.
Oh, but we didn't bring up the whole them going after the drug dealer girl
Oh
who
yeah,
that kind of like was the start of it because they had the gun and they found out that the girl who's been dealing drugs the whole movie that she ratted on somebody. So they take it into their hands to go hold her hostage and like steal stuff from her. And that becomes like that was my anxiety inducing moment of like, oh my God, are they gonna like kill this girl on accident or something? Because they hold her at gunpoint, are like yelling at her and screaming at her, and eventually they don't shoot her, but they throw her into a lake and she can't swim, but her mom sees the whole thing, which
yeah.
is
I mean,
that scene was
they're
insane.
they're being really stupid at this point.
Yes.
Like I said, they're not the brightest group of kids. I would never say that, and they just throw this child into the into this
Mhm.
lake. And I mean, I didn't think they were going to get shot because they said that they were out of bullets at a certain
Yeah,
point, and
true.
they never did, and they never did. But so that's when I said they were kind of on the run. That's one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
And anyway, at that point, Carl is still on the run because Richie's been shot dead, and so now he's trying to lay low for a while, and he kind of starts hanging out with Corey. And anyway, they end up banding all the kids together in this town, and they're just like decided they're like, we're not going to take it anymore. Like, we're going to go after these parents. Like they basically have been screwing with us this whole time. And
Mhm.
so when I say like one of the other parts I don't like is like towards the end of this movie, this is one I think it goes almost a little too off the rails at the end of the
Mhm.
movie. Like it's just these kids are causing so much chaos. Like they have like these guns that basically like explode these cars as soon as like they
Yes,
get shot.
one shot blowing up cars.
Like that one kid has like a revolver basically and points it at a car and just
Mhm.
shoots it and the car just explodes into this fireball.
Yeah, I almost feel like this movie felt like it had to compensate for the fact that the beginning had nothing going on, that it had to be this grand finale because they basically lock all the parents in the school and just start this huge riot and are blowing crap up and wrecking the town and wrecking the school. And I agree. Maybe it's just maybe it feels like too much.
It didn't deter my fondness for the movie. I still
No.
like the movie a lot, but I just think they didn't have to go so high towards the end of the one. They could have gone a little more subtle type of thing, but yeah, they end up causing this huge chaos. Like all these cars get exploded, like the town's being destroyed, and uh, Doberman's like chasing the kids into this to the
Mhm.
rec center, and he crashes, and the whole rec center explodes with Doberman in the car, and Doberman just dies at the end of the movie.
Isn't that crazy? The damn rec center kills him. But yeah, there's like this huge wreck. I forget who causes the accident at the end of the movie because it's not Carl. Carl's in the back. I think he sees someone on Matt Dillon's bike, right? And it kind of like throws
Yeah,
him off. That's right.
yeah, exactly. I think they shoot out his windshield again, if I'm not
That's right.
mistaken.
Yeah, but Carl makes it out. He lives, but I mean that's where the movie kind of wraps up because they all every kid that was a part of this riot that was still there, they end up going to juvie.
Yeah, everyone ends up going there. Oh, and Carl does end up befriending the kid with the BB gun. They
That's
kind of
right.
like make amends because Carl shoots him while he's on his motorcycle or dirt bike or
Yeah.
whatever, and he's like, "All right," and the kid's like, "All right." now or even, I guess. Like,
Yeah, which is I like that scene too because I like how the kid was kind of like, I've been kicked out of school and I don't know when we're gonna have the meeting again to get back into school, so I'm just bored. I have nothing to do. And that's kind of like the point of this movie, right? It's like they shut down the rec center and all that, which was like the only thing the kids could do. This is the age before video games were everywhere and stuff, and you couldn't watch movies at home or anything. Kids just needed something to do because I think that
kids need to go outside more, Nathan. That's what I
yeah,
say.
yeah. Well, the parents didn't even allow that. That's like the moment where like the dad's like, "Oh, we're gonna build more housing," and then Carl's like, "You said there was gonna be a bowling alley. I wanted a bowling alley." And he's like, "No, no
That's
bowling
right.
alley."
Yeah, the movie kind of ends on a downer note, but they don't really play it off like that. They're kind of it's very triumphant at the end. It's like, yeah, we're going to juvie, but who cares type of thing.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of like we get we did the right thing. We were heard. Well, it's kind of like do the right thing in a way. The ending, at
yeah,
least.
but yeah, that's where the movie kind of ends. Like I said before, I really enjoyed this one. I think both these movies were uh very surprising. I really wasn't expecting much from either, and they both kind of surprised me in a really good way. And I'm glad to have watched both of these. They're both very good. This one in particular, like I said, uh, just like the chill vibes of this movie, the authenticity of all the kids in this one, and just kind of like just it really just felt like a movie that I've seen before, like later, but in a good way. It's just
Exactly.
like, oh, like this is where all the other like hangout movies kind of like took ideas from.
No, I agree. And that's something that I think is really cool. It feels like a blueprint. Like it's a really cool blueprint for what would come later. And that makes it feel ahead of its time, but not so much so that it still feels like a great timepiece of the 70s with amazing like visuals, costumes, and the fantastic soundtrack. It's such a great time capsule, but also just still speaks volumes to this day. And I thought it was a very, very interesting movie. I agree. This week was very surprising. Two of my favorites that we covered so far this year. Really good stuff. So especially for new movies. But yeah, no, good choice. Highly recommend.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for this week, I believe. So, Nathan, what are we doing next week?
All right, Ryan, we're back at it again with, and this is this is Ryan's. I don't want to take your thunder. You said John Zilla, and we're gonna keep it there because I think that's really funny. So it's John Zilla week, which means we are going to be covering the next Carpenter movie. But when I said we're doing his filmography, I really meant we're doing his filmography. We're going to do his TV films as well. So that means we're going to be covering 1978's Someone's Watching Me, which is streaming right now on Tubi. But Ryan, what are we going to be covering on Thursday?
Nathan, we're continuing the Godzilla portion of the Millennium Era. We are going to be talking about Godzilla against Mechagodzilla from 2002. I want to make that clear. Not Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla
Man,
is the title from 2002.
you ruined my joke. Come on. I was going to be like, oh, I watched Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. I can't do
Yeah,
that
we get to
anymore.
watch it again. Oh, man.
Yeah.
But
No.
but that is streaming on Tubi and YouTube for free.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch that one.
Absolutely. But if you have any thoughts and opinions, please email us over at drivein-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com and check out our YouTube, youtube.com/drivein-double-feature-podcast. But till next time.
Until next time.